Welcome back for another video. This video is going to be 3D Mill Lesson 13, Exercise A. As you can see, we have a drawing very similar to the tutorial that we did. The main difference here is that the outside profile is a little different. Also, this drawing here, this is, it's not a great drawing. So what they're really defining here by this 2 inches and this 875 is that's going to be the rectangle that we're going to put in here with 375 radii on it. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and draw this top profile here. And I'm actually going to do a mirror for this thing. So I'm going to draw half of this and I'm going to mirror it. So I believe what I'm going to do is I'll probably draw the top half. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out here. So I think what I'll do is I'll draw this top half because I can draw these radii or these circles, semicircles pretty easily. And then I can create this here radius. Looks like we have what I'm missing here or seem to be missing anyway, is this angle. I'm not seeing that angle anywhere. Oh, okay. So now I have a radius, and there I have the dimension for it. So I'll be able to enter that radius. I'll just tangent them. Okay, so that's what we'll do. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with our wireframe. And our diameter is going to be, looks like we're at a 0.5 diameter. And let's go ahead and enter those dimensions. So it's 3.25 from center to center, which gives us 1.625, negative 1.625 in the x, comma, and it looks like it's 1.5, so it's going to be 0.75 in the y. Okay, and then 1.625, comma, 0.75. All right. That gives us our 2 circles, and then we're going to need to add another circle, which is going to be a 625 radius, 0.625. And let's go ahead and give us, so that's going to be at 0, comma, and it's 1.25 from radius to radius, from basically from tangent point to tangent point. So it's 1.25 from here to here. So we cut that in half to get from our center to the edge, which is going to give us 0.625 plus another 0.625 to get to the radius center. So 0.625 plus 0.625 is going to give us 1.25. So it's going to be 0, comma, 1.25, and that's going to be our position. I'm going to connect those with some lines, just so I can kind of start to see things take shape. That one is not right. Notice I can tell right away that I didn't do that. That's the kind of attentiveness you need to have. You got to pay attention to detail. There we go. That's much better. Because that wouldn't have given me the right shape. And then I would have mirrored that, and it would have been wrong on 2 sides. So I'm going to hit check. I do need to create another line. And it looks like, let me pull this drawing over. It looks like we have a radius here that we probably need to use for that. One of the problems here is that, okay, so we have an angle, actually. I'm given an angle of 55 degrees. So we're going to use that, and we'll mirror that over the line, and then we'll just put a radius in it. And I'm going to say it's safe to assume that this radius here is 0.625, even though it doesn't say typical. I don't see a specific call out for this one. So we're going to assume that that's 625. Okay, so let's go ahead and do 55. Oh, whoops. So it's actually going to be the opposite. So since we're 55 degrees here, then we need to be 180 minus 55, which is going to be 180 minus 55. is negative 125. And there we go. And I'm actually just gonna draw a line here just to trim that to there. I could have told it where to go to, but okay, so there's what I've got, and then I'm actually just gonna mirror this over as well. So I'm just gonna transform that. Mirror. Oops. Y-axis. Check. And let's go ahead and trim this stuff up. Wireframe. Divide. Good. Whoopsie. Alright. So there is our base profile. Now I'm just going to mirror that. So I'm going to pick transform mirror again. If I can find it. And selection, and we want to go over x-axis this time and hit check. And finally, I'm going to radius this with a 0.625 radius. Check. All right, and we have our top profile. All right, next we need to create that bottom profile, which appears to be at negative ½ inch in the Z. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. Let's see here. We're going to try this rectangular shape again, see if I can get this thing to work. So we're going to mount it to the center. I still don't think that radius is working. Try it again. So we got a 0.375 by height is 0.875 and width is 2.0. Okay. Yeah, so this radii still don't seem to be working correctly. It's brown. Oh, well, it helps if I actually have the rectangular selected, so that's where I screwed up last time. I had the wrong type. Yeah, so every once in a while, you have that happen to you. Okay, so there we go. There is our correct shape. It's kind of funny that I did that. I'm going to go ahead and hit check, and we're going to translate that down, because I did forget to put that in the negative, but it's no big deal. We're just going to go negative 0.5, enter. It's moving, check. All right. Now, just like I did with the other one, I'm going to split this at a point that I know it is in line with. So again, I'm going to go to my break pieces, break into two, and I'm going to select my midpoint and my midpoint. Okay, so now I have those pieces. That's how I'm going to use this to create my solid. So we'll make a solid. So I'm going to do a surface, but I'm just going to do a solid. So let's go ahead and loft that. Actually, before we do that, let's create a level. Go to our loft, and oops, not Boolean yet. Loft, and select. Let's unselect that. Gotta zoom in. There we go. And that one. Enter. Okay, let's give that another go. Create body. Nope. Alright, let's change our settings. Because we have a different number. Since we have so many lines up here, I think what our problem is, we're ending up with by entity. I think we need to do by branch. So let's give that another go. Whoops. Don't want that. Check. There we go. Much better. Okay, so there it gave us our solid. Remember that by branch, by entity, I just kind of forgot about that. But if you have a lot more entities, a lot more geometry up here or on one chain than you do on the other, you need to do it by branch. If you do it by entity, it needs to be the same number of chains or roughly the same number of chains. Okay, so that looks good. I'm just going to create a block, and we're just going to make that at center. Length is going to be 4.625 and 2.5 by negative 1.0. And there we go. Check. I'm going to move that to block solid. Check. Okay. And now we're going to Boolean this. So I'm going to pick my target body, which is going to be this one. And I need to pick my tool body, which is our loft. Check. And there we go. There is our lofted feature. Check. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to turn this off. Actually, I'm going to leave that on. Check that. I didn't want to do that. All right, I'm going to move this thing, and I'm going to translate it. Half of 4 and 5/8 is 2.3125. Y is going to be negative 1.25. And check. Okay. So there is our part. I'm going to regen the colors there, clear them colors. And let's go select our machine. So I've got my 3-axis mill. Stock setup, all solids. Check. All right. Okay, so there we go. We have everything set up. I'm going to delete this point because I don't need it for anything. And we're going to go ahead and start our toolpaths. So my first toolpath is going to be the pocket toolpath. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this like we did the tutorial. Just kind of staying with things. That's kind of what I want you to do. I want you to practice toolpaths that you learned in the tutorial. We could do this with a host of toolpaths. We could do this with an OptiRough. We could do this a lot of different ways. But I want you to kind of usually stay with what you did in the tutorial. So I'm going to pick a pocket. So one of the things I want to show you here, and what I'd like you to see, is that you can pick these edges. So if I pick levels and I turn off all my geometry, I can actually pick this edge. And that's just going to be a loop. So I can pick that one. Check. Pick my tool. Go to my library. Steel, aluminum. And we're going to use a 1/2-inch flat end mill. And I'm not worried about the feed rate here, just because I'm going to define my feed. I'm actually going to cut anything with this. I'm going to be doing the cutting with my plunge pass. So I'm not too worried about anything here. I am going to change this to 12,000 just in case. We're going to come down, not leave anything on. Roughing, I like to pick a parallel spiral for this particular type of toolpath. I'm going to turn off. Finishing needs to be off. Lead in, lead out's off. Everything else is off. We're going to 0. That's fine. That is exactly what I wanted to do. Now, the step over is controlled. So you can see here, I didn't change the step over. So I'm going to go back and change that later and show you the difference that it makes. But for now, I'm going to leave it as it is. So we're going to pick a plunge. And we're going to pick our... Oh, you know what? Holy heck, I didn't put the radii in the bottom of here. Well, it's not going to hurt anything that I did so far, so I need to add that. 1/8 inch. So let's put that solids, constant fillet. Right here. There we go. That's what I want. Check. And get rid of that edge. I don't need that in there. And 0.125, enter. Check. Okay. There we go. That's a little better. So we can, oops. Since we made a change, we have to regen this. So that should be fine. All right. Now let's go back to that toolpath plunge and hit shift, click. And we're going to select that, end selection. We don't need containment for this one because it's going to be controlled by the pocket that we pick. Feed rate, we're going to do a feed rate of, we'll do 50 inches a minute, 12,000 RPM, plunge rate of 50 inches a minute. And everything here looks good. We're going to leave some stock on here though, 50 thousandths. And our rough, we're going to go NCI. I'm going to select this toolpath. I'm going to turn my helix off. My max step down, we're going to make that 0.15. And max step over is going to be 0.1. Check. All right, let's take a look and see how that did. Okay. So there we go. You can see it's not a great path. It doesn't clear out as much material as I would personally like. Let me turn on my geometry so we can kind of see how much is left there. It's not a lot of material that's left. You have to remember that even though it looks like there's a lot, it's only stepping over when it does these finish passes a little bit at a time. And I can control that up to a degree. I can make this 0.05. For my max step down. And actually I can do allow small steps. I'm going to make it 0.1. Check. Regen that. Now, the other thing that it will do that I can control here. Okay, so you see there it looks pretty good. Still not getting very close. The other thing that I can control, and I can kind of control how much I step over by changing this pocket step over. And I don't know how much it's going to help us, really. But if I change this to like 20%, it's going to take smaller cuts, obviously, but it might get a little bit closer to those edges. And you can see it did. Got significantly closer to those edges. So that looks a little better. I think I can live with that. You have to remember, that's not very deep. So there's not a lot of material in that area. So that looks really good. So we'll go with that. All right. And next we can do our contour pass. So again, I'm going to select Shift and click all those, end selection. I'm going to put my containment boundary on. Check. Okay, and we are going to pick a different tool here. We're going to pick we have an 1/8 inch radius in that corner, so the biggest tool we can really use is a 1/4 inch. And I'm going to use a 1/4 inch. Maybe I'll use a 3/16. That's better. I don't like to use 1/4 inches for that kind of thing. We're going to make this maybe 35 inches a minute since we have such a small diameter tool, 12,000 RPM. Plunge rate, we can go 15 inches a minute because we're not really plunging into anything. Everything there looks good. It's at 0, it's on center. Here, I like to do high speed. Everything here looks good, I believe. Step down, 0.01. Actually, make that 0.005. We'll go for a nicer finish here. I'm going to hit check. And should give us a nice finish there. That looks good. Looks really good. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this right click, and I'm going to do a shallow toolpath here. So shallow. And I'm just going to triple click, get this whole thing, and selection. Attainment boundary. Use that. And hit check. I'm going to use this tool again, so I'm going to keep it clicked on there. Of course, 0. I'm going to increase this to maybe 20 degrees, and we'll see how that looks. Max step over, 0.005. Everything else looks good there, I believe. Uh-oh. Cut tolerance is about the same as a step over. Might prove with a 10 to 1. Oh, okay, it's just warning me that I can get a better surface finish if I change that a little bit. I'm going to leave it as it is right now just to see. Now I can kind of see here. Let me turn this one off and turn this one off to get some of that. So I can kind of see here that, I have a bit of a gap, and we're probably going to see a little bit of material left here. So we'll take a look at that. We'll go ahead and run this and see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and simulate that. Play. So it looks pretty good. It's actually not too bad. I'm getting a little bit there. I'm not real wild about that. Let's see if we can get that a little better by changing our angle there. But otherwise, the part looks great. So let's go back and see if we can change our angle there. Also, I think I want to go inside for this. Regen that. Okay, let's see. I don't think it's going to fix our problem per se. I think it just. All right. So let's take a look and let's change this angle. See what that does for us. Yeah. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. I got a lot of overlap. Now it is coming up, and you can see it's kind of remachining this a little bit, which that's okay. Not a big deal. It's going to add time, but if that's what you need to do to get this surface, that's what you have to do. We could probably do some things where we could get rid of that. But again, I'm not too worried about it for these exercises. So that looks much better. So there we go. That is our finished part. Once again, and as always, if you have any questions, feel free to see me during class, or, of course, you can contact me during my office hours.